Data protection and privacy teams are under more pressure than ever with new laws, AI oversight, data breaches, and the constant expectation to do more with fewer resources.
That's why TrustArc built a modern privacy and data protection management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. It unifies your tools, automates the work that slows you down, and surfaces what matters most right when you need it.
From guided quick actions to our intelligent assistant, Ask Arc, you get credible, contextual answers backed by expert research, not generic AI guesses.
Finally, privacy that works the way privacy pros work.
Learn how TrustArc helps teams move faster with confidence at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.
You're listening to Serious Privacy, powered by TrustArc. Here are your hosts, Dr. Kay Royal and Paul Breitbart.
So where last week seemed to be crazy busy, this week actually was a bit more relaxed. But still, there is news to update you on, and we will do that, including on the groundbreaking new data protection legislation in the Vatican. That and more in today's episode of Serious Privacy. My name is Paul Breitbart.
And I'm Kay Royal, and welcome to Serious Privacy. This week is all about the V's. I like the V's. But first, icebreaker question, and I found an awesome one. Of course, it's the first one I really read, but it's awesome. What dog breed would you be?
Oh, I'm in many minds. It probably would either be a Labrador or a Dachshund.
Okay. I wasn't expecting the Dachshund. The Labrador I could see. Why a Dachshund?
Just because they are always so cute and friendly and playful and eat a lot.
Back problems?
Well, yeah.
Oh, I love it. Okay, I'd be a cat. Sorry.
That's not a breed of dog. I'm sorry. That's not an acceptable answer. Try again.
I'm rolling my brain. What kind of dog is smart, but as my client said, brilliant but scattered. So what's kind of a ditzy dog? It wouldn't be a Chihuahua or a poodle. Oh, like a Jack Russell Terrier.
Oh, you want to bite people's ankles?
Nip, 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 nip. I think of the big dogs, and the only one that comes to mind is a greyhound, because other than when they're going 90-0, they're big cats. They just lay around and want to be cuddled. All righty, let's dive in this. Now, I've been traveling. My daughter graduated med school last week. I'm not going to tell you of the travel hell we went through. I'll post all about it online, but just suffice to say, we actually walked in as they called Dr. Karis Royal to walk across the stage.
Well, congratulations on that.
We did. It was at like the end of a 2-hour ceremony. She was in the last group because they went by their houses. And so she's getting ready to move cross country. She'll be in Memphis. We're very excited about that.
Yeah, for me, that's all still in the South, so still very close together. But
it's about an 8-hour drive, so it's not horrible.
Well, I mean, 8 hours is what you would drive if you would go on vacation from the Netherlands to, say, southern France.
There you go. See, that's awesome, right? You just say that's just a weekend drive. It's good.
No, that's not a weekend drive. That's a week's drive. You don't drive 8 hours for a weekend trip.
Oh my gosh. But it was also while the Northern Lights were visible, even in Arizona.
Yes, did you see them?
I didn't go out looking for them on Friday night, so I missed them. Now, my mama and I went out looking for them on Saturday night, and we didn't find them. We were out hunting wabbits, and we did not find wabbits.
No. Saturday night was not a good night, but Friday night was amazing. I saw them from my back garden.
Did you?
I've got an amazing picture just from my back garden. I went to the beach actually to spot the Northern Lights. I did, but it became very cloudy very quickly.
Wow.
So there were not very nice pictures to be taken. And then friends started texting from where they were around the country, and the light was not just green anymore, but also the pink and the purple.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, I'll go back outside again. And then just at my front door and in my back garden,
oh my gosh,
I could see it.
Now I need to look at horizontally how level y'all are with what states in the U.S. I think we looked at it before. You were like New York, right?
Yeah, I think it's about New York.
And there were pictures Friday night from people right up the road from my mom in Mississippi and people from Florida. It was just, oh my gosh, it's on my bucket list. I'm going on a cruise in Alaska, going to try to catch them. And just imagine, had I not been so flabbergasted from traveling, then Friday night I might have actually been outside trying to find the pictures. That's crazy.
No,
That
there
is
were
amazing.
amazing pictures from the Alps as well. Just imagine all those snowy peaks and then in scattered pink light. You may know that there is a big cycling round going on in Italy at the moment, the Giro d'Italia, men's cycling, and their main jersey is a pink jersey. So they posted on social media, didn't our marketing team exceed themselves this year because all the Alps were pink?
That is fabulous. That is absolutely fabulous. But it really was messing with phones and computers and everything else while we were traveling. Crazy. People are like, well, why would the Northern Lights mess with, phones and TV and computers?
Well, it's not the Northern Lights. It's a solar storm.
Well, it's a huge, what do they call it? A geomagnetic storm officially. So it's absolutely bonkers. So, okay. And
it was the biggest one in 20 years. So imagine.
Right. Gosh, and I don't have pictures of it. In the Vatican. We've talked before on this show about how obsessed I am that what does the Vatican do for privacy? It's in the middle of Europe. It's an independent location, but they have people that work there and that come there from Europe. So they purposefully market. I don't know that marketing's the right word, but they purposefully do business in Europe that's covered by the GDPR. What kind of privacy do they have? And lo and behold, in the midst of everything else, they issued a privacy decree.
Yeah, it's a decree promulgating the general regulation on the protection of personal data for the city of the Vatican, for the state of the city of the Vatican. So it's in Italian. So I've gone through it trying to understand parts of it. It's not that long. It's 20 pages. It's 28 provisions. It was promulgated on the 30th of April of 2024. So it's been in force for 2 weeks now, and it will remain in force as an experiment for 3 years. So this is a law with a horizon clause, a sunset clause.
Okay.
It will apply for 3 years. The main provisions are fairly similar to what you see in the GDPR. The definitions are fairly similar. The legal basis, to a large extent, everything is based on consent. There are the exceptions for contract and the legal obligation, public interest. There is no legitimate interest, notably. And also the law does not apply to anything manifestly made public by the data subject. So that is also different from the GDPR, where that manifestly made public only applies to special categories of data. Here it applies to everything. So if you put something on a website or on social media, the Vatican would be able to use that data, or at least it's not covered by this data protection regulation. For the rest, it's the individual rights the way you would expect them, some obligations on the data controller, and complaints can be made with the judicial authorities in the Vatican that have 30 or up to 90 days if they extend it for reviews. I haven't been able to understand anything specifically related to sanctions. So I think it's only making sure that any contraventions are ended, but there are no specific rules included related to fines or things like that.
Right. And what I've got is that and I had to find sites that translate this for me and everything. So these are official translations, I think, either provided by or supported by the Vatican, but it's closely modeled on the European GDPR. It only applies to the Vatican state and its institutions on national territory and in extraterritorial areas, but not to the Holy See and the Curia.
No, and that also means that it doesn't apply to the church in general.
Right. So it includes the rights, as you said, and everything. But the interesting thing is this is only a trial for 3 years.
Yeah, that is what surprised me. And on the other hand, from a legislative perspective, I'm actually very much in favor of having sunset clauses in legislation.
Okay.
Because it also means that laws that are unwanted just expire if nobody pays attention to it, so that you don't.
And laws they do want can be amended and revised on a regular basis.
And then you have a debate about it. Do we still want this, like we've seen with FISA?
Right.
And then the outcome may not always be the one that you would expect or would like. But in any case, you have to debate going, do we want more of this?
Right.
So in that respect, I'm in favor of sunset clauses. Here, it's also a trial because I don't believe that the state of the Vatican has done similar legislation. I mean, they refer to their constitution that is dated on the 13th of May, 2023. So just over a year. And I think that's an updated version of the constitution because there are older laws also referenced going back to 2008 and 2018. And I would be surprised if there were no other older versions of the constitution of the state of the Vatican. But yeah, this law would apply to, for example, the Vatican Bank and the Vatican Museum and all the other institutions, the Vatican Postal Services.
That a lot of people don't think about, right?
Yeah, but it is a country in itself, even though it's only, 1.3 square kilometers?
Right. But it does have people from all over Europe, which is what we had talked about before.
It has a railway of, I think, 800 meters, but it has a railway. So, yeah, it's interesting.
It is.
So it doesn't answer your question, what is the Roman Catholic Church doing with personal data?
It gets me a step closer. It does say that they do have data protection officers. It's always carried out by the presidents of the Vatican Council of State. They're the ones that receive the complaints and the rights and everything like that. But unlike the data supervisory authorities under the GDPR, they cannot impose sanctions. The sanctions come from the president of the governorate, the head of government of the Vatican State, who makes a binding decision as to whether the data protection violation has actually occurred. They cannot be appealed. The decisions are final. And the Council of State is currently chaired by the Italian law.
Cesare Mirabelli and Vincenzo Buonomo.
Cesare Mirabelli and Vincenzo
Buonomo.
I might leave, and I'll give you the link to this too. This is something that is explaining all of it, and it looks like it's an official site. I'll put it in the show notes, but let me post it here for you. Okay, so this is where I'm reading this from. The head of the government is the Spanish Cardinal Fernando Verges Alzaga. Buonomo also heads the disciplinary commission of the Roman Curia. Now, people, I don't know if I'm going to leave all this in or not, where Paul is telling me how to pronounce these names that don't come naturally to a little redneck from Mississippi. But if I do, I'll take this sentence out. So let's see. The Pope delegates the affairs of government to a cardinal who has his seat in the Vatican Government Palace. In 2023, Pope Francis promulgated the basic law of the Vatican State. So there is that as well. So he is the head of state, but he delegates it out, points people to actually manage.
Yeah, so that's the new constitution of the Vatican.
Exactly. So we're good there. This is going to be interesting. I still got to dig in and see, but I love the fact that they have something. This gets me a step closer to understanding how does the Vatican work when it's in the middle of all of this data protection legislation that has essentially changed the way the world handles personal data, knowing that they have a ton of personal data, which inherently, in one respect, comes with a soul binding, no less, decree of confidentiality. But for everything else that happens in the Vatican City, what do you do with the workers and the hospitals and, as you said, the railway and everything? So this is interesting. This is very interesting. But also very interesting, another Vermont passed a state law.
Okay.
Let me see if they actually passed it. So Vermont privacy law,
Announced they passed it, but then...
Let's see. I've got 1 hour ago, if he signs it, they will become a privacy leader.
On May 11th, he hadn't signed yet.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the Vermont privacy law. It's not a law yet. So Vermont legislature has passed a bill. This is a very unusual one. So this is not one I think most people were paying attention to. And apparently it was a last minute compromise between the House and the Senate that would prohibit the sale of sensitive data, allows consumers to file civil suits against companies that violate their data protection rights. Now, this isn't consumers can file a lawsuit if a company has had a breach. This is if they violate their privacy rights. I think specifically related to the sale of sensitive data, but I'll have to pull this up. I think it's other rights as well, but this is a very unusual action to take. I was not expecting this out of Vermont. And people, I have to tell y'all, I don't go read all the privacy bills that are proposed in the U.S., not on the federal level and not on the various state levels.
That would take days.
Right?
Every week.
It would be crazy. And then they get changed in committee and everything like this. I did hear that Vermont was considering one, but there was talk as to whether or not it would actually pass because of the private right of action. That is a huge contention between most of the parties or the people in the parties. And so I really had no hope that this one was going to pass. There may be someone in Vermont who was closer to the story who maybe can give us some more insight on this. But it is interesting. I did look, and an hour ago, it still says the governor has not passed it. By the time we publish this, probably on Friday, we're still missing that 1 week, people, where we have a week. We're going to catch ourselves up, we promise. But they said that they didn't know if the governor was going to pass it or not, or was going to sign it or not. I mean, we often hear in laws that, the governor has already proposed or already stated that he's going to sign it or she's going to sign it as soon as it gets to them. Vermont, apparently, it's an iffy thing. They may or may not sign it. So that is something we need to look for. Did you pull out anything in Vermont that stood out to you other than this private right of action?
You mean maple syrup?
Well, apparently they move faster than maple syrup. But EPIC did the Electronic Privacy Information Center. It's at epic.org. It's a wonderful think tank organization out there. They support this one. It does have data minimization requirements that set meaningful limits on the amount of personal data companies can collect and use. There is a prohibition on the sale of sensitive data. We can get you that definition as well. Strong civil rights protections against digital discrimination, and then this limited right of action. And so the person that pushed it was Vermont Representative Monique Priestley, and the Maryland governor signed the Maryland Online Data Privacy Act as well. So it kind of, Maryland and Vermont, as y'all know, are right there together. They're right there with Delaware and some of these other small New England states. And so I'm sure they all talk together, which is one thing I think is fabulous. Or as we learned at IAPP, the state enforcement agencies. So usually the staff of the attorneys general, or if they have an agency that actually manages data or looks at that, they all talk together. They all work together. They call each other up and ask for advice and what would you do this and everything like that. So these laws may be slightly different from word to word, but don't ever fool yourself that they're not talking to each other.
No, I mean, they would be foolish if they wouldn't.
Right? So just like we learned about the European legislators talk to each other and, they try to work together and take a consistent approach and look for insight from each other. Very much a big collaborative effort.
Yeah, although the legislators across Europe don't speak too much about specific bills, I would say, but more about general policy.
Right.
Along party lines.
The way it works, right?
Yeah. The governor, Phil Scott, has not signed yet. This time, he has announced that he will veto an increase of the property tax in double digits. That was 2 days ago, but there is no news on the data protection legislation, whether he will accept it or not. But private right of action is interesting, and
right?
Especially in light of the efforts to create federal legislation, which would leave room for preemption. Then this private right of action could probably also survive a federal data protection law.
Right, which is interesting if the federal passes, right? Because then you see whether or not all the activities by the states actually go to waste or not, which is why the states are so against a federal privacy law that would preempt their actions, or at least not include a provision that it does not preempt state privacy laws that are more protective.
Exactly. But yeah, according to the spokesperson of the governor, he has not decided what to do with the bill yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, and it says that just this past Thursday that the California Attorney General, Rob Bonta, and a coalition of 14 other state attorneys general wrote congressional leaders a letter imploring them not to allow federal legislation to preempt state rules. And so we'll make sure to give you that. I think we have a copy of the letter that was sent to them. So we'll make sure that you do that as well. I'm still trying to pull up a definition of Vermont's sensitive data. For some reason, all the links take me somewhere else.
Yeah, but the website from the state legislature is also down.
Oh, that might be why it's not opening. Okay. So we'll pull that up as well. Amendment. Let's see. All I got is the Senate proposed amendment. So looking at their definitions, this is really interesting. Y'all know some of the ones that we really look at. So starting from the top, one of the ones that I like to look at is biometric data. This one does not say that it's biometric data used for the purpose of identifying someone. Now, it might somewhere later in the law, but the definition does not say that is data used to identify someone. Child has the same meaning as in COPPA. So as y'all have heard us talk before, that means that if COPPA changes, then this law's definition of child will automatically change with the COPPA definitions. I like that a lot better than defining child as someone under 13, meaning if COPPA changes, the law is going to have to come back and be revised if they wish to change the definition of a child. They do have definitions of consent that I like that. And consumer is the resident of the state. It does not include commercial or employment context, so it eliminates B2B and employee.
And Europeans.
In Paul's world, it's a person, people. It's a person. In our world, it's a person as long as it's not B2B or employment.
And as long as it's a local person.
They do use controller processor. Now, here's the thing, and I wanted to point this out. I don't know that we've actually pointed this out on the podcast before. I think we did when we talked about the state laws that have passed and gave y'all a big summary. But de-identified data means data that does not identify and cannot reasonably be used to infer information about or otherwise be linked to an identified or identified individual or a device linked to the individual if the controller, 1, takes reasonable measures to ensure the data cannot be used to re-identify or reasonably linkable back to an individual or household. Like that they threw household in here. And reasonable measures includes de-identifications. They actually specify a law, other requirements relating to the uses and disclosure of protected health information, so under HIPAA. And you have to publicly commit to process the data only in a de-identified fashion and not attempt to de-identify the data. So for all of you companies out there that say that you use de-identified data, and in contract, that's what you're doing with your clients. If you don't have a public commitment to using de-identified data and not attempting to re-identify the data, it technically doesn't meet the definition of de-identified data in most of the state laws that have been passed. Also, you have to contractually obligate any recipients of the data to satisfy the criteria above. They have to publicly commit and have internal protocols and processes to not re-identify the data as well. So if you don't have all that in place, I'm just saying. Let's see, I'm scrolling down. They do have gender affirming health data as a definition as well. So expect to have some information on that. Genetic data, geofencing, they have definitions. So expect that. And then hold on. Personal data does not include de-identified data or publicly available information. They do have a definition for profiling, so expect that to pop up as well. They do have a definition of pseudonymous data, so that's a good one as well. Publicly available information, and Paul and I were just talking about this on the last episode, means information that is lawfully made available through federal, state, or local government records, or widely distributed media, or a controller has a reasonable basis to believe a consumer has lawfully made available to the general public. That's interesting. Okay, sale of personal data. Here we go. Drum roll. Means the exchange of a consumer's personal data by the controller to a third party for monetary or other valuable consideration, including for political gain. That's a new definition. Political gain. It does not include the disclosure of personal data to a processor in a normal vendor situation, the disclosure to a third party for purposes of providing a certain product or service, requested disclosure to an affiliate of the controller, disclosure where the consumer directs them to interact with a third party, disclosure of personal data that the consumer has made public or did not restrict to a specific audience, disclosure of personal data to a third party that's part of a merger acquisition, blah, 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 blah. Okay, here we go. Finally, sensitive data means government issued identifier, consumer's racial or ethnic origin, national origin, citizenship, information, immigration status, religious or philosophical beliefs, union membership, or political affiliation. Woohoo. Reveals a consumer's sexual orientation, sex life, sexuality, or status as transgender or non-binary. Reveals a consumer's status as a victim of crime. Is financial information, including their tax return, account, financial account number, financial account, debit card, credit card with any required security or access code, password, or credentials. Consumer health data, personal data collected and analyzed concerning consumer health data or personal data that describes or reveals a past, present, or future mental or physical health condition, blah, 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 blah. Is biometric or genetic data. It does not say used to identify a person. Now here, that's key, people. Usually the laws say biometric or genetic data, or not genetic, but biometric data used to confirm a person's identity. This does not. This is biometric data. That's key. Is a photograph, film, video recording, or other similar medium that shows the naked or undergarment clad private area of a consumer. Oh, I don't like that. We talked about this the last time too. Or is precise geolocation data. If you have that broad thing, photograph, film, video recording, or other similar medium that shows the naked or undergarment clad private area of a consumer, you might unintentionally be cutting out artwork or advertising. I mean, think of all the catalogs that have, that sell undergarments. They usually include pictures of people in undergarments.
Which would make sense to include those if you want to sell them, right?
Right. But it also says that it doesn't include data in a commercial or a employment context. So you might be able to exempt those out from the definition because it's in a commercial context. But what about artwork? And we're thinking of some of the famous, videos, statuary, things like that show nude or undergarment clad, but they're not consumers. They're not residents of Vermont.
So time will tell, and probably the courts will tell what we actually need to make of this provision.
Right. It's interesting because there's some very intertwined
and maybe it's not
definitions
interesting
there.
at all, because maybe the governor will veto the bill and been talking about this all for nothing.
Oh, that will never be the case.
So what else is happening in your part of the world?
I have no clue what else is happening, Paul. I have been divorced from the world for a week.
I wanted to tell you that this week in Riga, so in Latvia, there is the spring conference of European data protection authorities.
Ooh.
So you have every fall, you have the Global Privacy Assembly, which is the global conference of data protection authorities in Jersey this year. And the EU has an equivalent, or not, I shouldn't say the EU. Europe has an equivalent, because these are all the countries that are signatories of the EU Convention on Human Rights, and then the Convention 108, obviously, on the automated processing of personal data. So it's the 32nd time this conference was held. So this year's spring conference was held in Latvia. There is not an overarching theme for this conference, although the public session, there is 2 closed session days only accessible for DPAs and their staff, and there is one half day which is publicly accessible. That is all about the relation between the GDPR and anti-money laundering provisions.
Oh, okay.
So that's actually an interesting topic. Also, how supervisory authorities can collaborate, how that all comes together. Earlier on the opening day, the EDPS, Wojciech Wiewiórowski, he gave a speech on the availability of health data. And that's actually a nice bridge to next week's episode.
Oh, nice.
Or 2 weeks from now, when we speak to Ed Kist, who is a Dutch researcher at one of our leading cancer institutes, who is defending her PhD also on health data in the coming weeks.
I'm looking forward to that.
Wojciech actually said today that he believes that GDPR offers sufficient possibilities to exchange health data, especially for research purposes. There are exceptions and exemptions in the legislation, and as long as the health data is intended to be used for the public good, while at the same time providing a framework of safeguards, this all should be possible. Of course, there should be robust data governance mechanisms in place that also provide guarantees of legal, responsible, and ethical management of research based on EU values, including respect for fundamental rights. The snippets of the speech that have been made public don't talk about international cooperation, so outside of the European Union, but that might be a good topic for the next couple of weeks to discuss as well.
And tee this up, people, in your minds. And Paul and I have talked about this before. Why would health research data be as restricted as it is? Quite often, that is what helps the advancement in diagnosis and treatment. And the individuals typically want their data to be shared because they want to be able to help other people. So there has to be some sort of cooperative mechanism here to make that happen.
Of course, but at the same time, fundamental rights need to be respected, and that includes also the fundamental rights legislation. So yes, it should happen, and maybe in the distant future when the GDPR is reopened, we should actually create some additional legal basis for data exchange for these kind of purposes, indeed for the public good, but right now they don't exist.
Okay, and in further news, so Colorado on May 8th passed the groundbreaking Colorado AI Act. It was Senate Bill 2005. It's effective January 1st, 2026.
It was sent to the governor on the 13th of May, so that's only 2 days ago.
That's 2 days ago. And apparently they're not as fast as we would like them to be. It's not like they have anything else to do. So the CPPA's rulemaking authority is being challenged. And we talked about this before in the Superior Court of California. The hearing is set for June 21st, so make sure that you watch that. The issue is whether the agency can issue regulations without providing a grace period for compliance measures. So we want there to be a grace period. You can't exactly pass it and then the next day expect everyone to be compliant. Maryland's governor signed 2 significant measures aimed, including Maryland Kids Code. So hello, Kids Code, here we come again. It's the second state to have stringent regulations on this. And I believe there was 2 measures on basically the same thing. So make sure you're looking at the Kids Code. So that attorney's letter that we talked about. Spain's Data Protection Authority released guidelines for treatments involving Wi-Fi tracking technologies, emphasizing the potential privacy risks associated with Wi-Fi tracking. So that might be one. All of these it will absolutely link to if you had it. I was looking to see if there was other news that popped up that we have it. So Singapore approved cybersecurity updates. They amend their cybersecurity law to boost oversight of national interest and essential services. So think utilities. So it was May 7th. They passed the bill. So it includes temporary systems set up to support the distribution of vaccines, as well as to host key international summits and other high-profile events. So they're catching up to some of these others. They say the expanded oversight of the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore, the C, comes as threats can often be obscured with increased digitalization. The first changes to the Cybersecurity Act since it came into force in 2018. So watch that one as well. What did you have, Paul?
So the other thing that's happening now and also next month, it's Google and Apple having their annual developers conferences.
Ooh.
And not only data protection conferences are all about AI. Also, the tech developer conferences are all about AI. This week, it's Google's turn. Google has announced a whole range of AI capabilities for all of their tools, including their phones, obviously, but also Google Workspace. So AI capabilities in Google Docs and also in Google Meet, helping you with summaries of your meeting or summaries of your emails and things like that. The one thing that some people are already screaming out about is that Google also promises to use AI to help detect spam calls, which probably would mean that they will start listening into your calls as well to help detect what will happen there. And I'm not so sure that that is the best idea. Big Tech also start listening to your calls.
Oh, I don't like that. But
which of the two evils is worse?
Right. But speaking of AI, the Senate Working Group, or the Bipartisan Citizen Working Group, I guess I should say that, released a roadmap for artificial intelligence policy of the United States Senate. So I have not dug into that one, but it does say that there are 9 forums to address more specific policy domains. The AI Working Group hosted 9 bipartisan AI forums in the fall of 23. Those forums covered their inaugural forum, supporting U.S. innovation, the workforce, the high impact, elections and the democracy, privacy and liability, transparency with explainability, IP and copyright, safeguarding against risk, and national security. So the road ahead, it gives you some overarching thoughts. We're steadfast in our dedication to harnessing the full potential of AI while minimizing the risks of AI in the near and the long-term future. Their roadmap includes supporting U.S. innovation in AI, some very lofty goals, what they will do. They will encourage committees to do AI in the workforce. So they have bullet points under these things that they expect to work on. The 31st page is an end page. It doesn't count. So 30 pages is really, really good reading. I will make sure to give you a link to that. That way you can read it yourself. Some of the latter pages in the appendix actually just give you who are the members of the working groups and things like that. So it's really only 20 pages of substantive material to read. So it's not a long read. I think y'all will enjoy it to look at that. I mean, I like these kinds of reports.
I think this is all we have time for this week, Kay. Apologies, this was a bit of a messy episode, but we still hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please share with your friends and family, as always. If you didn't, just tell us that you didn't like it. Join the conversation on LinkedIn. Find us under Serious Privacy. We have some nice conversations ongoing also with potential guests on LinkedIn. So we are scheduling those, but traveling schedules make life a little difficult at the moment, and also houses and things like that. You know what it's like. We've been talking about it. If you want to find Kay on social media, you'll find her as Heart of Privacy. You'll find me as your old hobby. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
That was Serious Privacy.
If you're a data protection or privacy professional, you already know the pressure. Non-stop regulatory change, AI oversight, internal demands, and the expectation to somehow stay ahead of it all. And the old patchwork of tools just isn't cutting it anymore.
No. That's why TrustArc created a modern privacy management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. The TrustArc platform brings your workflows, evidence, research, tasks, and applications all together in one unified and intelligent workspace, so you don't waste time digging, clicking, or context switching.
With Ask Arc, your privacy assistant, you can ask plain language questions about laws, jurisdictions, or even your own program data, and get credible, cited answers based on Nimity research and more than 1,000 global laws. It's explainable, transparent, and purpose-built for data protection and privacy.
So if you need to add a vendor, create a cookie banner, or start an assessment, quick actions take formally complex tasks, turn them into bite-sized guided workflows to save you time.
It's a platform that thinks like you, works like you, and helps you move faster with confidence, whether you're a seasoned DPO or you're just getting started.
See how modern privacy gets done. Explore Arc at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.